This is Max with Guitar Center. We're here at Winter NAMM 2025, and we just stopped by the Gibson Speakeasy. We were talking to Tommy from MESA Boogie about all that's new from Boogie over the past few months. Tommy, how you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for stopping by, Max. Good to see everyone. What's new is what's old, right? A couple new things. We just released the Mark IIC Plus into the world, as well as the 90s 2-channel Dual Rec behind me. And then we got a new amp coming out in a limited run. It's a 200-piece run of the Mark IIC Plus Plus. And this is a kind of a rare bird in that I think we only did about 20 of these at the factory when we first started doing this mod. You know, over the years, Mike B would mod people would get 2C pluses and have them sent in to be modded, never a production unit. So this will be the first production run of the Mark IIC Plus Plus, which is a pretty special amp. It's the same as your 2C Plus. It's just more gain, a little brighter, a little meaner. It's not a huge departure from the 2C Plus, but it is something that people just were asking for. They wanted just a little bit more gain, just a little bit more out of the 2C Plus, and that's where we landed with this amp.
How did they accomplish that? Was that adding another gain stage?
We didn't have to add another gain stage, but what we had to do is change the circuitry to push that gain stage a little further at the end of the gain stage.
You said this is originally 25 pieces?
I think that's what Doug had told me, that they built those at the factory, and it was before I got there. I think they only did about 20 from what I know at the factory. And now this will be the first 200-piece production run. I do want to just note that these will be dedicated 2C pluses. They're not modded pluses. I know we're using a lot of pluses here, but these are a dedicated group of plus amps for the guys that want it. There's going to be a handful of guys, and we want to make sure we get them.
All right, you want to give us a little sampling what it sounds like? When you've got such an incredible, rich heritage and history, what makes you say, let's do that? You know, what's the inspiration for leaning back to a very limited run?
Well, the inspiration just comes from that there are enough people out there that want this particular version, and we don't want to, we're going back to do this. Let's make sure we cover those folks too, because we don't want to forget anybody when we're doing this. I don't know that we're going to be offering this anymore. Of course, the Plus is core is going to be, unlimited as long as we can get parts, and so who knows how long that'll be. The last one we had to stop making because you couldn't get the parts anymore. And so we finally redesign it, get back to it. Yeah, we just wanted to make sure everyone had a chance to have both styles.
That's the 2C Plus coming out in fairly limited numbers in the near future, early spring, sounds like. Right behind you got a very different amp from a different decade. You want to tell us a little bit about that? The
92 channels rectifiers, when I first started at MESA Boogie in the late 90s, that's what I was making myself. I was stuffing PC boards, maybe 10 at a time for the 90s dual rec. And it was just an explosion. We couldn't keep up fast enough with this 2-channel version. And then the idea was to become a little more versatile of an amp, because this amp, so you have 2 channels. You have your vintage channel and your red channel, your lead channel. But it was so cool back in the day, you could assign both your channels to be the modern red or both channels to be vintage orange, or you can have a clean channel. So then we went to the 3 channels, so you can isolate those preamps and have a clean vintage and modern kind of separated. But it kind of changed sonically a little bit how the amp sounded. And so we heard enough from so many people that they want this amp. They want all these amps. When the opportunity came along to do them, we were like, yeah, let's go back to those early revs and really just knock them out. And John Marshall, our head designer at MESA Boogie, went into this amp and both the Rev F and Rev G and just said, he just went through with a fine-tooth comb, went through every part of the circuit and went, okay, this is cool in this amp. This is great in this amp. We need to improve these in both of these amps, So we went back, relayed it out, and got to a place where we think that this is a culmination of 30 years of building rectos. This is all that, everything we've learned put into one amp.
Speaking of that, when John, key designer, right, head designer here, is going back and looking at these old amps, looking at old schematics, pulling up, amps that have been sitting around 30, 40 years, any fun discoveries, surprises as you were going back into these?
Discovered a lot of what we didn't know at the time, right? And things that you wouldn't think would alter the signal path or have an impact on the amplifier. Certain things like where a thing was grounded or what kind of material something is, all made that difference in the end, to where you just logically it doesn't seem like it, but we went back. So we tried to do all those things that were in those amps. Some of the stuff isn't available, and John, the wizard he is, would come up and recreate, like, oh, this has a certain, in an off position, this had a certain amount of resistance, so we'll just put 30 ohms here to replicate that part, what it was doing back in the day. And so it was pretty cool. But I think the main thing was finding all the things, going back into the old amps and going, oh, we did this way better in 2010 or 2012. Why'd we do it that way? Okay, let's go back and make that right. And so that's why you got a better clean channel. The tone controls feel real responsive in this amp compared to the original ones.
Why don't you give us a little demo? And this feels like a standing demo. Tommy, thank you for that demo. And just to reiterate, so this new 90s rectifier, that's available right now, basically, right?
That's out. This was launched January 14th, I believe was the launch date. So these are in stores now. Go to GC. They're in stock, and we're shipping them as fast as we can make them.
And the 2C++, that's coming later this spring. Very, very limited numbers.
Yeah, so we're just, again, doing the 200-piece run of the 2C++. That's going to come out in early May. I don't remember the exact date. I'm sorry about that. But early May, limited 200 piece. It'll come with a COA and a whole thing.
Well, Tommy, thank you so much. We had a pleasure stopping by. Great demos, seated and standing. If you want to learn more about all the latest new from Mesa Boogie, head to guitarcenter.com. And if you want to stay tuned to our GC YouTube channel and hear about all the latest new gear from NAMM.